Good night, Rock Dundo. I can't hear you. Good night, Rock Dundo. Good night, St. James North. Permit me also to wish a special good night to Mr. Ralph Thorne, who I made to understand is parked in the vehicle registration number X80, a black van under a down street halfway down the hill. Good night, Ralph. You do not have to be under the down street. We will beat you badly politically, but we are loving people. You can get out and stretch your legs and come and stand up in the crowd. No boy, do nothing. You don't have to spend the night there in between the centipedes. Get out and walk about. You all have to behave. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, I think you just heard the big voice of the man who is ready to represent St. James North. You ain't sure. I believe you heard a man who is ready to represent St. James North. And I believe now that I can hear you better that you are ready to send him to Parliament. Now, this is not a night for long speeches, and the Prime Minister follows me. But I want to say to you two key things. The first one, my friends, is that you have heard all night long, I believe I heard every speech given tonight, from Peter all the way back up to Chad just now. And you would have heard a theme of this candidate put forward by the Barbados Labour Party as being a responsible and dependable young man, a reliable young man. Speaker after speaker has told you his life history, and he himself just shared all of his passion, his thoughts, his dreams, his ambitions politically with you. Chad Blackman has opened his soul and his heart to St. James North. He has opened his soul and his heart. It is a book for you to read. You can be under no illusion about what Chad Blackman is and what he stands for. You heard Indar Ware. You heard Peter Phillips. You heard Santia. You heard all of those who spoke this evening telling you, you farm of the Barbados Labour Party leader, not satisfied, CARICOM ambassador, at an early age in life, 37 or so, sent overseas to represent Barbados at the World Trade Organization as our ambassador to Geneva. Permit me, Rock Dundo, to speak to you as Foreign Minister of Barbados. Whenever I see the lady who leads the World Trade Organization, a lady by the name of Dr. Ngozi, she begins by saying, Minister, how is my friend Chad? I miss him so much. A lovely Nigerian lady. And you heard also about his advice rendered to the head of the International Labour Organization. And in fact, the desire to keep him up there, and Mia had to work hard to get it to come back here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing more that we can say to you about that man. But in the same way that we have presented Chad Blackman to you and opened him up for you to see him heart and soul, the same standard must be applied across the board in Barbados. And in this election, in the same way that all and sundry, whether in Rockdale or Bakerswood or anywhere else in this constituency, knows who Chad Blackman is and can be under no illusion. Don't put down the camera, no getting real. Under no illusion, Ralph just down there, I want him to hear me. I want him to hear me. Because he has a candidate who we need to know about. Well, I read the international news as I must. And I read the regional news as I must. And I didn't wait till I was foreign minister to read it. So I knew in 2011 that I had an individual by the name of Yolande Brown. You know anybody named Yolande Brown? You never heard of a Yolande Brown? But Yolande Brown walked in, according to the St. Lucian Voice News, walked into a polling station in 2011 by herself, purporting to want to be a candidate for a party called Lucian People's Movement in the constituency of Castries Central. Called upon by the officer in charge, the presiding officer, to present her credentials. The name entered in the record was Yolande Dujon Brown. I want Ralph Lauren to tell me tonight, because I just heard Chad Blackman say something that is critical. There must be trust. The bond between he who represents or she who represents and you who are the represented must be a bond of trust. If Jenny Graves from Seaview St. James sitting behind me there feel that she can't trust me no more, she will not be canvassing or working or voting for me. If Linda Crossy on the field that she can't trust me no more, she will not be working, canvassing or voting for me. And I could go on and on, because I see half the constituency all about here. But let me talk to you now as a man who had to represent St. James for 4 terms. I feel like in here I could talk to you like family. We always know that this thing is about trust. And you ain't come to do a lucky dip, joking your hand or what you get something. You must know the candidate, and the candidate must be something that you're comfortable with. So I go back to the name that apparently you never heard before, which is a name called Yolande Brown. Because I want Ralph Thorne to tell me whether Yolande Brown, also known as Yolande Dujon Brown, is the same individual as Felicia Dujon. This is very important, because if they are one and the same, then my brother Ralph, you have to explain to the people of St. James North and wider Barbados how it is that this individual contests an election in St. Lucia with one first name and got a different first name in Barbados. With got a surname in St. Lucia and a different surname in Barbados. And you are now scratching your head, ma'am, and asking yourself, well, good Lord, how one body could got 4 names? Now, I happen to have here the St. Lucia Electoral Department record. And you all know ready to get on bad, but you're not going to hear what you want to hear tonight. Part of the 2011 election results is the polling district results of 8 boxes, and I'm not giving them to you tonight because tonight is not about that. Tonight is a night about us developing the point that Chad Blackman just raised, the question of trust, and to be able to say comfortably that we can get off the mark on this issue of trust. We need to know, Brother Ralph, whether the individual who you are foisting on the people of St. James North with 3 weeks' notice is the same individual that had the name Yolande Brown and then contested under Yolande Dujon Brown in St. Lucia. Now, my friends, I move from trust to the next issue. Because I really want to come to talk about 2 issues here tonight, that these people in the Democratic Labour Party have said to you that they believe a central issue in Barbados is the question of the cost of living. And I want to say that that is true. Because the cost of living is a major issue all around the world. If you watch what just happened in Canada's election, the central issue was cost of living, and made worse so by their neighbor to the south of them, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Trump. If you listen to what just happened in Trinidad and Tobago, cost of living was an issue there too. And so it is everywhere. Linda, come on here, bring me a little, that glass of water, bottle of water, please. But what I want to say to you is that we have a duty. Thank you, my dear. We have a duty to talk about cost of living within the context of how it is managed. And I know a lot of you have forgotten the record of the Democratic Labour Party. And inasmuch as my friend, Mr. Thorne, is just down the road, then I want to talk to him about what apparently he has forgotten. Because, comrades and friends, this country is not an isolated republic all by itself in the world. We have to deal with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune the same way anybody else has to. It is not my fault or mere motley fault that there was COVID, but COVID had an impact on the cost of living. It is not my fault or mere motley fault that there was a volcano in St. Vincent that erupted, that we get more ash in Barbados than St. Vincent had, but that had an impact on cost of living. It is not my fault or mere motley fault that there's a climate crisis around the world. That too has an impact on the cost of living. Let us be real. When Ralph Thorne is talking, we have now to break this thing down for everybody to understand. But I believe you understand it better than he thinks. Because in 2017 and 2016, all of you within earshot of my voice and within my eyesight were living in Barbados. And I know then, but I am not going to take pupillage. I am not going to submit myself to being instructed on management of the cost of living by anybody in the Democratic Labour Party. Let us go back to 2016. Have you forgotten a thing called the NSRL? It was a National Social Responsibility Levy. Tony, you would know because you were a unionist. And in 2016, they introduced it. No, they had nothing to do with COVID. That was born and bred here in Barbados in George Street by the Democratic Labour Party. 2% on everything brought into this country and 2% on everything manufactured in this country that you were going to buy, 2% was the tax. Lord have mercy, by 2017, they went into the Parliament of Barbados and they multiplied the tax by 5 to get 10% on everything that come into this country. This is on top of that here. This is on top of that. I want you all to cast your memory back. Part of what has happened in this country is that we have been so successful as a government at rebuilding this place that people have forgotten the pain they went through. 2017, they increased that National Social Responsibility Levy by 5%. What was the consequence, Tony Moore? 21,000, you hear the figure? 21,000 people marched through the streets of the city of Bridgetown. At least, in order to try to appeal to the Frontal Stewart administration to roll back that cruel imposition which was stifling people in Barbados, and they have the temerity to talk about cost of living. The issue is how it is managed. When they went, Tony Moore right there, when the unions went to government headquarters and presented a petition to Frontal Stewart, he then wanted to come out. He was like Mr. Benwood Dick in Spar Song. You know, when I went to Mr. Benwood, he tell your daughter to come up quick. He didn't go nowhere. He was going nowhere. And then after being pressed, he need to have a little time for they want to move. They want me to ask you to have MR 424 moved as urgently as possible, please. MR 424. No, he's X80. That's not Ralph. And where was that? And he said he got to have more mature consideration and need data. People struggling in Barbados to survive. Now I want you to contrast that with the Barbados Labour Party and how Mia Mottley has managed each of the crises that we have had. I am not going to run away from this because this country must come face to face with the choice that it has. A couple of weeks ago, example number one, Donald Trump told the world that if I break it down to mathematical calculations, every single container that passes through an American port would have $300 added on to the cost of its contents. What was Mia Mottley's response? Not that she gonna give it mature consideration, but to get on a plane with me and then 4 other Caribbean prime ministers, and we went and had a meeting in Jamaica with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and let him know, Skipper, if you're going down that road, effectively you will cripple and destroy Caribbean economies. Result, that tonight the United States has retreated from that position. We give them thanks for their consideration and their mature approach to this issue. That is the Labour Party way. Let's talk a little more about cost of living. Give me 2 minutes there, Peter. When we came to the point of dealing with COVID, we started with business interruption benefits for all the people, the cosmetologists, the barbers, the people running the nail salons, the taxi drivers, the fishermen, the shop owners, everybody get a business interruption benefit. But then what did we do to make sure that people like you that are the consumers were looked after? Well, I got a little less here that I walk with because I don't want to forget none, that there was a cap placed on VAT for diesel and gasoline. And let me tell you something, that cap is still in place and in effect if the cost of gasoline goes over 80 United States dollars a barrel. In Barbados today, it was reinforced by Ryan Strong in the budget he gave a couple of weeks ago. I go further. We put zero VAT on all of the things that you purchase which are personal and critical care. So, if I go break down what personal care is, the underarm deodorant, the ladies will know what personal care is in an even more intimate way. I don't have to tell you that. And then people go to take the tablets and the multivitamins and that type of thing. And Ware was here earlier tonight, and he would tell you that we set up a fund, a revolving fund for $2 million. For all the farmers in Barbados, so as to assist them with making sure that the inputs to agriculture could be purchased. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a compact with the private sector and the labor union, Tony, that we have never had in the history of Barbados before. I'm not going to be lectured by Ralph Thorne on the cost of living. We brought people into a Lara court, the business people, and told them you cannot be running markups. Your profit margin is all of 40% on some items, 35% on other items. That was the profit. I may tell them, man, bring it down to at least 10. Could Christ let us have a heart? We got to live in Barbados together. And that compact lasted 6 months at first instance. I was the Commerce Minister. We renewed it for a year. And tonight, as I speak to you, the elements of the compact are still in place. There's no duty on beef stew. There's no duty on oranges. There's no duty on grapefruit. There's no duty on lemons and lime. There's no duty on fresh vegetables. There's no duty on barley. There's no duty on Vienna sausages. There's no VAT on minced meat, minced turkey, sliced ham, drinking chocolate, cream of wheat, black tea, Horlicks, cornflakes, and of course, honey, because we's bees and we go like after the honey. Huh? That is the way the Labour Party has responded to the question of cost of living. And when other countries saw thousands of people marching, all Pakistan, all Australia, all about the world, because of the crisis that the world is going through, war this place, famine the next place, tariffs up in North America, every morning you wake up, you ask yourself, Lord, what will it be? Send an answer for me. But we have managed to steer this economy through because we got a leader who is relentlessly focused on the well-being of the Barbados economy. If you doubt me, look at what the international rating agencies are saying. Upgrade after upgrade after upgrade after upgrade. Downgrades was Ralph and that crowd. And relentlessly focused as well on you, the people of Barbados. You, the consumer. Now that I tell you there's a short address, I wish that I could really warm up. But the fact of the matter is there's a limit. But I wanted to tell you that this is just a snapshot of the issue. Because we will not retreat on some fundamentals. And the Democratic Labour Party will not drive us away from our defense and of our stewardship in this country. This country has been well managed on the critical issue that has broken the back of several governments across the world. And on the issue of cost of living, we have walked lockstep in touch with you. Whether it means to make sure that they never VAT on the electricity in your house, we shielded you. As I tell you at the petrol pump, we shielded you from the full cost when St. Lucia and others were carrying that cost. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to Ralph that if you want to have an argument and a debate on this issue in this election, bring it on. I leave this place with a simple request. Do not forget the entreaty given by everybody who spoke so far tonight. Chad Blackman deserves your vote. Chad Blackman has dedicated a life to service, and he has come now to seek to culminate that journey by being your representative. He is a good man. I know that you know he is a big man with a big passion. But I want to tell you what you don't know. He is a man who is committed, dedicated, and reliable. That his word is his bond. And you, the constituent who must have that bond of trust, must now ask yourself about the other people. I will say more about the lady with the 3 names in due course. Or is it 4? 4 names. Good night and God bless you.